This is qualifying round one. Chris Waterhouse with the four-wheel drive Audi taking on Dave Crowhurst with the Wanger Beast. Well, can't say Dave's not eager there. He got a red light, but it doesn't matter. He's still going to get a time. Looking to go 9.65, and he goes 9.53. Puts him to the bottom of the pack, breaking out.
Stout run though, 9.53.
Yeah.
Almost went before the tree activated. Very, very almost. Next up, Graham Fairhead and Ed Keach.
So, Graham Fairhead, number 2 in the championship. Ed Keach, number 1 in the championship. So, both of these really looking to qualify well this weekend. And with just 2 qualifiers coming up, the pressure is on. So good side-by-side launches. Graham out in front at the moment, looking to go 10.50. And he starts his day with a 10.62. And Ed rolls through to a 13-second pass. That's not going to help him for qualifying. Blackcurrant 4 coming underneath the tower, their new build Beetle. Fully electric powered. It's going to be racing up against James Gould with the VR6 Turbo Altered. He's loving doing his burnouts this weekend. James got so much abuse on Friday after losing to Steve Mellors in the shootout, after forgetting to come on the trans brake and basically just coasting off the line. The guys were just like, what are you doing? And he was like, I didn't want to go on the trans brake too early. So James Gould dials in a 10-second flat, and is that an 8.75 for the electric Beetle? So really putting some power in this. They've been working on the 60-foot. Now they're putting the power into the car at the back end of the track. So James bumping the altered in. Oh. So Sam getting sideways just after the 60-foot. James Gould is out in front at the moment. He goes through. Oh, 10.01. 132, and for qualifying, that is a very good run.
Sam goes through 11.40, 130 miles an hour, but wheel spin pretty much all the way past 60 foot. But yeah, James Gould, great opener. So well judged on the dial-in. And with only 2 qualifying rounds, that could hold.
That is going to be tough to beat with just 2 runs, I think. So currently only 6 cars qualified. I don't know how many. Being Bug Jam, we get the bonus of normally 2 days of testing, but obviously we had Friday run what you brung. We do lose a few cars on the first day because it's Bug Jam. People want to put on a show, and obviously they want to go out and run PBs on day 1 of Bug Jam, and sometimes we do lose a couple of cars. So I know we will be down on the original entry of VW Pro.
Yeah, so Live Action Arena, first show from them, 10:30 today.
All right, next up. Multiple-time champion James Hodson in the Slick Tricks Racing lane. He dials a 10.99. He's taking on Danielle Coppin with the Golf R. She dials in a 12.05. James Hodson, currently 3rd in the VW Pro Championship. Danielle Coppin, currently 4th. She is one of our rookies this year. Basically started her season. It's the first time doing a championship, and she's entered into the Rookie of the Year competition, where the rookie who has the most points over in VW Sports and or VW Pro gets a trophy at the end of the year. Quite a bit of spin there for Danielle on the start line. James is way out in front. He's looking for a 10.99. He's going to go for 11.5. 119 to a 12.35 at 116 for Danielle. Doubling up on classes as well is Rob Carter. Dials in an 8 flat with his street legal Passat.
That's going. That's brave.
That
8
is,
flat.
isn't it?
8.3 would have been a bit closer.
I think he
but-
just wants to get to the finish line
Yeah.
first. So, well.
No,
Tram's
he is going
breaking
to get
up
a time.
well.
That's good.
Ah, good.
I was a little bit worried then.
I was just looking up and going, is Abby moving? Rob made it look like she was going really slow. 9.89 for Rob. Percy. And a 50, yeah, she was going slow. 15.16 at 98 miles an hour for Abby. That's a well off pace. Right, next up, Ollie Whitehouse taking on Tom Herbert. Tom dials a 12 at a 1, and Ollie dials in a 12.90. So no nitrous for Ollie. No doubt, as I say that, we'll see a purge come off the car. But usually he'll be running down into the 11s if he had the nitrous on. Well, both cars taking their time. We haven't got all morning. He did take his time, but he got a good reaction time in the end. So Tom's going to get to the finish line first. He's looking for a 12.10, and he goes through with a 12.41 at 110. Ollie goes through with a 13.54. So both drivers well off their dialing on Q1. Now again, thank you very much to all of our headline sponsors for the VWDRC. Hangar 30, The Car Kitchen, 32 Racing Wheels, Artec Performance, CG Motorsport Performance Clutches, RTMG Performance, GH Automotive, and Darkside Developments. All of those supporting the club as our headline sponsors, putting in a big chunk of money towards our championship, along with all of our associate sponsors. Champion this year, at the end of the season, will be taking home £1,200. That's on top of all their winnings that they've had throughout the year. And of course, if you win the SPLC Championship, you get all your Santa Pod entries for free the following year as well. So a decent prize pot, as always, from the VWDRC. And again, we have our associate sponsors as well. WRP Paint and Restoration, European Front Wheel Drive, White Label Consulting and Managed Services, Volks Workshop, Renegade Race Fuels, Cirque Motorsport, BJ Bates Electrical, GP Turbos, and Harvey Properties Developments. A whole load there. We are so privileged to have all of these sponsors sorting out the VWDRC. Next pairing then, Charlie Roberts. What a reaction time there from the 5 up. Can he put the performance in? He is looking for an 11-second pass. This is looking good though. And Charlie goes through. 10.99, he's got it! 130 miles an hour, his first ever 10-second pass, and the world's fastest up.
Breaks out by what?
Yeah.
A minuscule margin.
He's going to be like, oh, I'm last in qualifying, I just do not care.
Yeah.
He's got it. So he's going to be heading up to the trailer now to buy a 10-second t-shirt.
Yes.
Ching. And of course, John Mills goes through with a 13.24. So only 76 miles an hour. He was doing 89 at the 8th.
He's not last, actually, because Dave Crowhurst went even further under. So
Fair enough.
Charlie did that run with a full-blown headwind as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a full-on headwind. Look at the flags. They really are literally horizontal. Wind turbines going 10 to the dozen at the end there. Yeah, stiff breeze. Well, Charlie makes it even more impressive.
Next pairing. Ian Dale with the strip burner taking on Phil Norman with the Brickfield Autos VW Beetle. It's got the famous paint flames on there. It's an absolutely gorgeous car, this is. Full tube chassis. Still got the old motor from the pickup. Just getting this chassis dialed in. Just enjoying every run. Dial-ins on the board. 12.20 to 12.99.
Just making sure Ian Blackett got the shot.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Ian Dale's going to get to the finish line first. He goes through with a 12.37. 107. That puts him into third place in qualifying. Michael Norman rolls through with a 15.49. It doesn't matter what event you go to, there is always a crowd of people around the Redneck Racing tent checking out Nino and this fabulous 9.5 litre big block Ford VW Golf. Jake Fronda dials in a 12.12. Michael Mooney dials in a 12.30, so they should be pretty much side to side the whole way down the track. Again, a little 300-foot weave for Jake, but he keeps his foot in. And he goes through with a 11.78, 111. That's a massive breakout. Believe that might even be a PB. And a 12.96 in the other lane. Right, what have we got? Paul Jordan. This does look good with the new paintwork that he's applied for this weekend. New stickers on there. So 4-wheel drive, 20-valve turbo. Made a good, near on 800 horsepower the other day at ADE Edmondson Dyno. He dials in a 10 flat with 113 at the 8th, and Jordy goes through with a 10.45, putting him into 6th qualified. And I believe that is your last VW Pro car. As the was down to a one-shot qualifier, it's not really fair.
Yeah.
To be kicking a load of people out on that.
Well, especially though no qualifying at all.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I think it's a good call, a very, very good call indeed. They could have had 2 qualifiers in the 32 car ladder, but no, I think to have the one shot at 64.
And as we said, same with VW Pro, because it's Bug Jam, we get so many extra entries, and we've also got a few interlopers that have come from, say, Sportsman ET, who would normally race at this event, but because there's so many race cars now from VWs and Pro Mod and stuff like that, they had to drop sports. All the people that race in their classes love to come in the Bug Jam. So they've all had to go and find spare Volkswagens to go and borrow to come and race at this event. But that just means there's so many extra vehicles racing this weekend, which means extra points, which means extra prizes. And of course, the VW Sportsman Class 1, the shootout. So there is an extra £750 of prize money to be won by the Sportsman races, which will go to first, second, and our semi-finalists. So 15.20 on the board for Hazel Carter. Simon McGee in the first run in his borrowed car. So he's put any dial on there, and he's no idea what it's going to run to. He's hoping he'll go on the right side of 14 seconds. He does indeed. 15.74 to a 15.79.
Got to say thanks to Trevor and Lorraine, actually. Very kindly got me one of their shirts. Appreciate that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It feels so long ago when we saw Trevor in the redneck costume.
Yes. I didn't recognise him. That's very good fun.
Right, John Crawford with the Mark IV Golf dials a 15.20. Very large dials a 15.35. So these cars should be closely matched all the way to the finish line. Lorraine Large currently 15th in the championship, and John Crawford is 10th. As they approach the finish line, Lorraine's going to get there first with a 15.71, and John goes 16.48.
Well, frame that one. Lorraine is #1 qualifier in VW Sportsman at the moment.
That's it. That's quite
I love their approach, actually. just smiling all the time. It's like, get any better than that.
All right, next pair. Kaz Waterhouse with the Audi TT, dials in a 15.20. He's taking on Connor Jones. Usually races his 1969 Beetle. Unfortunately, issues with that car, so he's dropped down into the daily driver Passat and dials a 17.20.
That's a good thing that you have a backup car to run in
Yeah,
it.
that's it. Especially at Bug Jam. They,
Oh,
they
yeah.
come in very handy throughout the weekend, the amount of people that are just walking around going, your daily driver car there, is it just parked for the weekend? They said, yes. I was like, I've broken my car. Can I borrow it? Right, Kaz Waterhouse is going to get to the finish line first. He's looking for a 15.20, goes 15.71. And Connor breaks out with a 17.14. So Steve Mellors, one of our Sportsman ET racers, has joined in the fun this weekend. He's here, well, potentially to ruin championships for some of our more seasoned racers if he can manage to go some rounds.
You never know.
No, that's it.
Oh, Jerry Sadler, 15.72 on the 71. Very nicely done indeed. Breakout for Steve Mellors by over half a second.
That's big. And as we said earlier, with qualifying, you get 10 points per qualifying base. So if we get, what were we, about 47 cars running in qualifying today. So that's potentially, if you're the last qualifier, you get 10 points. If you're number one qualifier, it goes up by 10 with every person, but a bonus 50 on top. So you would be getting 520 points if you're number one qualifier.
Wow.
As we said, that is almost a round's worth of racing points. Right, you've probably seen in the program there's a lot about Lawrence Clark in the Thunderbug. Unfortunately, issues with the Thunderbug, but again, Gareth from BJ Bates Electrical went, borrow the bus. So this is now the Thunderbuzz. Gareth yesterday was running 16s in it, and we were celebrating that he was the first VW Buzz that we'd ever seen down the drag strip, and now it's already in competition. He's taking on Reese Taylor, who dials in a 1450 and goes through the course mile with a 1486, and Lawrence goes through, whoa, 1705. That's good for number 2 so far in qualifying.
No respect for that one. Very nicely done.
Next up, John Gallant usually races his Audi TT because it's Bug Jam. He likes to bring the Scirocco out, which he used to race in last season, just because it's an older car and lots of people like looking at it. Phil Blogg usually in his turbocharged Caddy in VW Pro, but issues with the car, unfortunately, not making it here this weekend. But he wanted to keep racing, so he's in the Caddy, drops down into Sportsman. This will be his first run, so he hasn't actually got an idea on the dial-in time. It's just basically a guess. With the one-shot qualifier, it's quite tough. But we'll see how it goes. John's out in front at the moment. Again, he's looking for a 17.38. In fact, the Caddy seems to be catching at the top end. 17.48 and a 17.06. John Gallant goes into third in qualifying for the moment. Next pair. Right, Mark Taylor. Again, another one of our VW Pro racers unfortunately had issues with his race car, so he's dropped down into Sportsman, borrowed someone's car. I think this is Bruce Harvey's, Ellie's car that was just sitting there, and he's like, can I just borrow your car, please? And she went, yeah, of course you can. But if you end up winning, I want half the winnings. Taking on Dan DF, usually races in 850 bike. So, a bit of a change for him, especially running on a Sportsman tree. He's looking for a 16.79 and goes through with a 17.29 and an 18.50 on a 20.10. So, big breakout there for Mark Taylor. Right, continuing on, VW Sportsman. Nigel Gregson with the Mark IV Golf from Farringdon. Dials in a 1350, taking on Reese Finney with Wolfgang, the Lupo. Reese Finney is currently 11th in the championship, and Nigel Gregson is 12th. As we keep saying, Bug Jam has the biggest amount of points throughout the season, so you need to do well at this race. There's a lot of qualifying points on the line. Red light for Reese, but it's in qualifying, so it doesn't matter. And goes 14.08. That Reese goes through with a 17.13. So Next up, Jordan Clark with the TDI Golf. Can't miss that one. Taking on Caitlin Wilson. Caitlin Wilson is currently second in the VW Sportsman Championship. Put in a number of runs on Friday in Run What You Brung, so hoping she can keep the performance rolling. Both cars into stage. Oh, nice.
Cracking reaction time there. Can only say that in qualifying, can't say that in racing, but an 0-1 light.
Did bog down after the start line after that, so Jordan's going to get to the finish line first. He's looking for a 13.80 and goes through with a 14.36. Caitlin goes through with a 18.38 on a 17.50, so she's currently down in 13th place. Ugh. As Mum gives the face of, oh dear.
Steve Metcalf with a blue steel Baja bug, 16.10, and it's Steve Stone, 15 flat with the Colston Racing Seat. I think VW Sportsman has, or VW Racing has the biggest change around in cars to what they've entered in any class of racing, because if something broke, you just go and find something else.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it.
All right, so Steve Metcalf with the Baja out in front at the moment, but the turbocharged Leon of Steve Stone is driving around him. Again, Steve's looking for a 15 flat, and he goes through a 15.58 to a 16.61.
I think they're all a bit nervous of breaking out, actually, because they're missing the numbers by a fair old chunk.
I think
at the
a
moment. They just want to get in, don't they?
Yeah, but a breakout is a drop of a lot of points.
Yes.
So it makes sense not to break out. Play it safe. I mean, was it a 15.72 on a 15.71, if I remember correct. That's currently your number one qualifier. That's going to be tight to beat in a one-shot qualifier. Next up, Bruce Harvey dials in a 13.16 with the TDI Golf, taking on Justin Foley, who dials in a 13.75. Pretty much side by side at the moment. Justin just drives around Bruce at the top end. 13.99 to a 15.15, so no help for Bruce there, but Justin Foley goes into number 4 qualifier.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next pairing. Not so with his R32 Mark V Golf. Again, never driven this car, usually races in the Mark I Golf. Taking on Thomas Circuit, Harold the Lupo. In fact, 1550 dial on the back of the Mark V Golf is what I said it would run. So let's see how off I was with my guess. As he gets to the finish line. Ooh, 1546. So, I mean, it was a good guess, but no, went just a little bit too quick. 1835 for Thomas Circuit. That puts him into 5th spot so far. Next pairing, Nigel Gregg with the Audi. Does have a Mark III Golf with an R32 engine in it, but basically missed round number 1. Started off with the Audi, all road, and just decided, you know what, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish the season, and I'll bring the Mark III out later on. Taking on Ian Dance. Ian Dance was hoping to be here with the Boogie Bug, a V8 front-wheel drive Cabriolet New Beetle. Unfortunately, not here this weekend, so he's in the Mark 8. Put in a number of passes on Friday during the Run What You Brung. So hopefully has got his dial-in honed down to perfection. He's looking for a 16.10. Nigel looking for a 15.55. Nigel's going to get there first and goes for 15.67. That's good enough for 4th place. Ian Dance goes through with a 16.45. Puts him into 8th spot. All right, Carl give him the thumbs up. So as always, Carlville, 1641. It's got a KO4 turbo. They had lying around in the garage, some old injectors. little bit of fabrication by himself. All mapped by himself on the road. And I sold it perfectly for him to stall on the line there. Well, Holly's obviously going to get to the finish line first. Can she get a perfect ET like she did at the last round? Looking for a 16.41, and she goes 16.76. Carl, well, pace for the 20. 80 miles an hour. Polly still goes in 8th spot with that run, though. Polly Judge currently 4th in the VW Sportsman Championship. Right, next up, Phil Jones. He's currently 3rd in the championship. Going to be taking on Chris Poyner. Chris Poyner usually races in the Green Goblin Beetle, but unfortunately had a catastrophic engine failure at round 1 of the championship. He then ended up picking up some spare parts from a rather monstrous motor. So the Green Goblin is going to be coming back harder and faster very soon. Darling's on the board, 1460 to a 1550. I love the Chris Poyner. Named his race car Desperate Measures. And what a good looking race car it is. So Phil Jones out in front. Looking for a 1460. Phil starts his day with a 1472. That's good enough for 4th place. Chris Poyner goes through with a 1683 on a 1475. Right, next up, Danny Bean with the 20 valve turbo VW Lupo. He's dialing in a 14 flat. He is taking on your reigning VW Sportsman champion with the R32 Audi TT. Paul Robinson is currently #1 in the championship as well. So a massive potential haul of points available if he can score high in qualifying. He did cut a red light, but he is getting timing data. So he is going to get qualified. Let's see how close he can get to a 1475. He goes through with a 1490. That puts him high. That puts him into 6th place. Danny Bean goes through with a 1491 on a 14-second dial-in. Oh, it's like door slammers all over again. Husband and wife racing. 2 weeks ago, the red Golf had no engine and almost no chance of making it to Bug Jam. Andy Bambrick has put in some shifts to get this car here. They've even been working on it. They used yesterday with the downtime to do a few extra modifications. As Becky makes her first run down the drag strip with the VR6 Golf. So Andy Bambrick, currently 5th in the championship. He is looking for a 1320 and he goes through with a 1350. That doesn't place him in the top 16. Becky missing the gear there. Now she's under power, goes through with a 2230. In fact, Andy Bambrick pops in to 9th space. 9th spot in qualifying. Okay, so okay, Alex Knott changed from VW Pro to VW Sportsman. That's where he disappeared to. So, interlopers. Lee Huxley in the wife's whip. That is the Seat Arona in the Slick Tricks Racing Lane. He dials in a 1750. Taking on Sylvia Purcell with the Octavia. Now, Lee Huxley, well known for racing in Pro ET. And I'm pretty sure he would love to take home a little prize haul for this weekend. So dial-ins on the board, 1555 and 1750.
So what you're saying, Luke, is he could be a dark horse.
Oi!
Oi.
Imagine if he ends up winning and takes home a massive boatload of money, and then decides, sure, why am I racing this Mustang? I can just use the wife's whip and earn way more money. So looking for a 1750, Lee Huxley goes 1729 breakouts. Silver Purcell goes 1641 on a 1555. So double breakout there. Next up, Alex Knott usually races in VW Pro. Had a couple issues with the car. Dials a 1301 today. Unfortunately, the guy's just having a look at the back of the car. Ian's like, stop, please. Well, unfortunately, he's being told to shut the motor off, so it's going to be a solo run for Andrew Clark, who dials in a 22nd. I kind of feel that there's going to be a breakout coming with this run, as it used to run down in the 15s. Well, we'll see. Andrew Clark goes through 1723. Massive breakout. Unfortunately, Alex not pushed back, so that is the end of his weekend. Next up, Fee Sinclair with the Out of the Blue VW Beetle taking on Michael Franklin. In the Chubb Dub. Okay, so it's going to be a solo run. Michael Franklin dials in an 1884. He was put in a number of passes on the Friday, so hopefully has got his dial honed. And it goes through with a 1930. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure why Jake Fronder's back down with Nino. Oh no, he's into VW Sportsman as well. That's it, he's double entered. So, Fee looking for a 1450. And goes through with a 1673. So Jake Fronder getting double the amount of runs this weekend, which is probably quite helpful with the amount of runs that we have had throughout the weekend. You can dial down to 12 flat in VW Sportsman. There is a little overlap between Sportsman and Pro. So Jake elects to keep the same dial in as he ran in VW Pro of 12-12, but has obviously got to keep it in the 12s this time, whereas his VW Pro run, he actually ran down into the 11s. Going to be taking on Dave Sherritt with the Borrowed Ride, Nev's car, another Lupo. We love Lupos in VWDRC. There's even an extra prize at the end of the season for the Lupo with the most points, and you become the champion of Lupro ET. Great wheelie for Jake. Lifts off the throttle and starts feathering it, so he's going to get himself on the good side of the 12-12. Goes through with a 1369. And Dave Sherritt goes through with a 1849 and an 1810. That's good enough for 15th spot in VW Sportsman. So, a bit wild on the dial-ins there, but obviously that's their one and done. Jerry Sadler, our #1 qualifier. Lawrence Clark, #2 qualifier.